I'm Jane Whiting. I'm going to be your host today, and I'd like to introduce our first speakers. We have Irene Weiser and Barbara Lifton.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Fossil-Free Tompkins. This is a vision for where Tompkins County is going to go, and you're all a part of it, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. It's been a very extraordinary week, and I'll talk about that a bit more in a few minutes, but what I want to do first is thank the woman standing to my right, our Assemblywoman Barbara Lifton, who has been representing our interests in Albany for quite a long time, but I think many of us tuned in to just how bold and courageous she is during the time of fracking. And she has again this week done something more bold and more courageous and very true to her principles and ours, which is the vision that it's time to end our dependence on fossil fuels and move forward for a fossil-free Tompkins. So she's taken a stand against repowering of this power plant and against bailouts of coal plants around New York State, and garnered the support of 70 of her colleagues in Albany who have joined with her in a letter to the governor saying that we've got to stop bailing out power plants and instead move towards renewables, and most importantly, provide support to the communities that lose the power plants. So just a very bold and heroic and courageous move, and I'd like everybody to give a big round of applause to Barbara Lifton.
I'm always reminded when I come and speak to a group like this that I can't do anything, literally I cannot do anything without you and without your support. It is so, so true. Okay, a little closer. I can't do anything without your support. Thank you very, very much. Literally, it's true. It's true. So this past week, knowing that I would have your support, I delivered to the governor a letter I authored calling for an end to ratepayer or state bailouts of coal power plants in New York State. "70 of my Assembly and Senate colleagues signed on to my letter. I'm sorry to say only Democrats. I didn't get any GOP signers on my letters. Disappointingly, we'll have to work on that, yes? Yep. While some of the headlines and stories have implied a narrow focus, saying I want to close our Cayuga plant, this letter is a result of a collaboration with major state environmental groups and many of my colleagues who see this as a statewide issue, who understand that it is, one that is looming in a number of places around the state. This is not primarily about the potential closing of one coal plant, but an understanding by many that we are coming to the end of the age of fossil fuel, and it is time. And it is past time to plan for the future. Sorry, I lost my place. It's time to plan for the future, for a sustainable future. Past time. As one Kansas farmer put it, I don't know how many of you saw the HBO or whatever it was, Showtime maybe series, Years of Living Dangerously. But a great Kansas farmer who had windmills all over his Kansas farm said, "Now it's only a matter of whether we have a hard landing or a soft landing. We must cut our greenhouse gas emissions. We have to do it now." So it is time to stop ratepayer and state bailouts. Instead, it is time for a Marshall Plan for renewable energy. It is time to do deep energy retrofits on all commercial and residential buildings. Conservation gives us the biggest benefit per dollar spent. I'm sure you all know that. It is time to build only the most energy efficient buildings possible, to create that smart grid to allow for the greatest application of distributed energy. Solar, wind, geothermal, microhydro, and others. It is time to redouble our efforts at smart growth and turn the corner on transportation. Electric cars and buses powered by solar, mass transit readily available, and more. There is worry, even fear in some quarters, about these changes and the loss of jobs and revenue to schools and communities. Those are good, legitimate reasons to worry. I share those worries. History shows that there is reason to worry about that. It is no small thing to lose your job. It's a big problem if you are the one whose job disappears. It is no small thing to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars to a school district or a county budget, or significant funds from a town budget. Critical services go on the chopping block, services we all care about. That is why in my letter I call for state funding for communities, schools, and workers as we go through these transitions. And Irene already mentioned, but I'm happy to reiterate, that in the end of session bill that we just passed on Thursday, we put such language and such funding for that community transition in the budget. In this case, I said budget, but it's actually, it's not a budget bill. It was just an end of session agreement, a bill statute. We have language in statute that runs until 2025. We'll have to re-up it at that point. That says communities will get transition funds. It did put $19 million in for the transition that Long Island is going through now. But so every year it will be a battle in the budget to say what's happening now, what's on the docket, where are we, and make sure, and believe me, you can trust me that I'll be fighting for funding for my district when we're on that chopping block, and when we're on that situation. I'm checking on it now, and I will also be working in the new session to make sure there's appropriate funding for displaced workers, to ease people into retirement or to retrain or go back to school to upgrade skills if they have more working years ahead. This is a critical, critical point. We must not have a we win, you lose situation. We've all been part of the age of fossil fuel. We have had decent lives in part because of that energy source. There are no pure people and no bad people here. This is all about protecting all lives and all communities. And while we're thinking about how we create and use energy, we also have to rethink our attitudes about government. Because of the race to the bottom that has been set up by globalization and the great reluctance to raise taxes on the wealthiest Americans and New Yorkers, states are also doing too little to begin to address the crisis of climate change, which threatens us, our children, our grandchildren, our nieces and nephews, and the cute little kid next door. There's been a 35-year debate about the proper size of government. I think we need to have a government that is the proper size for the challenges we face. With the huge problem of climate change, we need a strong and robust federal government, ideally, to face down the private forces who seem only concerned with their bottom line, and to put a plan in place and fund that plan, which will in part, of course, and largely carried out through the private sector. But IBM, BDO, Apple, Google, Microsoft, whatever business you want to name, private businesses cannot and will not take on this communal problem and solve it. Only government has the ability to produce a coherent plan and the enormous resources necessary, and work in concert with other major world powers to successfully tackle this problem. And so we must all push our federal government to take on this task. But we see that right now it is too much enthralled to the fossil fuel industry. Though the president, of course, has done some good things, done some bad things too we're not happy with, And so it is up to us as individuals and states to act. And New York State should be in the lead, as we have led on so many critical national issues, on abolition of slavery, on women's rights, on gay rights, and on environmental protection historically. We are 19 million people. We have enormous wealth if we choose to harness it. We have to stop thinking that austerity budgets will get us to where we need to go. We have to stop moving RGGI funds out of NYSERDA to fund energy conservation projects, to put it into the general fund because we don't want to go over that cap. Good as those other purposes might be, that is critical funding we should be using every year for energy conservation. We should once again, as New Yorkers, take up the mantle of leadership to move our state and country away from fossil fuel and into a hopeful and sustainable future. Thank you all for everything I know that you're going to do to help.
So before Barbara goes, I know many of you had a chance to sign this card on the way in with our own special fossil-free Tompkins logo for Barbara. And so what it says is thank you for your courage, your leadership, and your vision for a fossil-free Tompkins. And
Thank you.
and we do thank you, Barbara. We also have this for you, and you didn't get to see our sunflowers dance later, but you're our lead sunflower. I checked, we're still under your ethics program. We're good on that. But what I really want Barbara to know, and maybe you guys can join me in this, Barbara, you have my heart. And I think you have the hearts of everybody in here. But what we want you to know is we got your back. So let's let Barbara know. We got your back, Barbara. 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 Thank you all.
Once again, thank you, Barbara Lifton. Our next speaker is already on the stage. This is Irene Weiser. She's a council member in Caroline. She got elected with the intention to ban fracking. And after she banned fracking in her own town, she stayed engaged with other anti-fracking activities, such as getting involved with We Are Seneca Lake and fighting the power plant in Lansing, as well as advocating for transition support for the town. So without further ado, here's Irene Weiser.
Thanks, Jane. And I really want to thank all of you for being here. And, you know, we kind of had to deal with weather, and you found us anyhow, and you made it up to this third floor. And we're really happy to have you. We brought the whole rally with us, including a giant inflatable coal plant. Come on. So anyhow, thank you for being here. It was really quite a week this week. On Wednesday, we had the announcement in our local papers about Barbara's letter to the governor, and joined by 70 people, and that was really quite a triumph. Thursday, we got the news that the Supreme Court upheld Obamacare, which was fabulous. It was also the day that the governor released his revised new energy plan. And it kind of left me wondering, does Cuomo care? Because this new energy plan is still not a plan. It has climate protection goals that are better than they were, but still not good enough. 50% by 2030 just isn't going to get us there. So we have more work to do there. And then, of course, the big Supreme Court decision on Friday. That moved a lot of us into the circle of equality to which all of us in this country belong. So at the same time, also on Friday, was Senator Pinckney's funeral. And I thank Reed for his comments earlier. To me, it was a striking bookend to that day, to have, on the one hand, this new sense of equality, and on the other hand, to know that even when laws are passed, the work isn't done. And we have that same sense now for us in our fight with fracking. The governor has 6 months ago said that he was giving us a ban. We still have nothing in writing. Don't know if it's going to be good enough. Don't know if it's really even going to be a ban. So we're still waiting. But the other thing, and the thing that brings me here, and I think maybe brings you here, is, in case you haven't noticed, we're still getting fracked. We're still getting fracked right here in Tompkins County. Frack gas infrastructure is everywhere in New York State, and it's encroaching here, the epicenter of the anti-fracking movement. We've got a 10-inch pipeline proposed down West Dryden Road that's intended to spur development in Lansing, and many of us believe also to power this power plant with fracked gas. Along with that, the Dominion New Markets pipeline. It's a 50-year-old pipeline that runs through part of our county, through the towns of Caroline and Dryden, goes through the compressor station in Ellis Hollow, which is going to be improved to put more pressure in a 50-year-old pipe to pump more gas through the Dominion pipeline up to northern New York and probably overseas. And then, of course, we've got the power plant in Lansing. A power plant that right now is toxic, burns coal. We subsidize it to the tune of $4 million a month. And if and when things move forward, we could well be paying $145 million to convert it to burn fracking gas, along with coal. So we started Fossil-Free Tompkins to stand up to these new developments and to ask each of you to join us, because unless this build-out stops, we won't reach the fossil-free future we all want. We want to let them know that we won't stop till they stop. And so in case you guys forget that this is a rally, that was kind of your cue.
We won't stop till they stop. We won't stop till they stop. We won't stop till they stop. Woo!
But so let's talk about that power plant for a minute. Not just about what's happening there, because I think that many of you know, but let's talk about it from a political standpoint. The basics of the story is this, that there's this old coal-burning power plant in Lansing that has become uneconomic to operate. And they want to convert it to burn fracking gas as well as coal. And they want us to pay for it, $145 million. The good news is that there's a more sensible, cheaper fix, upgrading the old power lines in Auburn, a plan that helps improve the efficiency of the grid and is an investment in the infrastructure of the future. But the bad news is that so far, our local political leaders, Barbara withstanding, haven't said, Carol, where's Carol? But our local political leaders haven't stood up to say no to the power plant conversion or to the pipeline in Dryden. And here's the craziness. We've got Mike Stam, the conservative Mike Stam, who's the director of our Tompkins County Business Development Organization, saying that even he isn't sure if we paid to convert this power plant, whether it would still be possible. To be fair, our legislators are understandably concerned about the economic impacts if the plant closes. Jobs will be lost, as well as a portion of the tax base. But I can tell you this, The economic impacts of closing that plant pale in comparison to the cataclysmic impacts that we will have if we don't stop our use of fossil fuels. Our county leaders spoke out against fracking when it was easy for them, when there was no political or economic cost. But now, when the rubber meets the road, sadly, our county legislature is not taking a stand. Do they really think it's okay that they stood up to say don't frack in Tompkins County, but say that it's at the same time okay to frack in Pennsylvania, and have those communities deal with the impacts, and we can bring that gas here? How did our county, the most economically thriving county in all of upstate New York, become so self-interested that we became willing to harm other communities, stand on their backs for our own economic interests? Fossil-free Tompkins is here because the political fight against fracking isn't over, not even here in Tompkins County. Other solutions to the economic impacts of plant closure exist. And as you heard from Barbara, and as you'll hear from some of our speakers today, the green economic revolution is already underway in Tompkins County. We need you to join us, to help us to work toward that future, to make Tompkins County the first fossil-free county in New York State. So I want you to join me in telling the governor and our county leaders, and this is your cue to kind of get up and do rally stuff. Yeah. No coal, no gas, renewable energy now. 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 We will win this. We have good people on our legislature. They need to hear from more of us to be persuaded. I think that Barbara's bold move will strengthen them, but only if we push them. So thank you, and let's keep fighting together.